Hey guys, welcome to a moment of sanity. Welcome to my channel. So today we are here to talk about our emotions. This huge problem, this part of us that might sound scary, might be scary in some cases, and that we are not conscious of. In the first part of this video, I would explain to you what our society tells us to do and what is the main problem. What is the main problem? The second part of this video will give you some tips, and in the third part I will make an overall conclusion. So basically, our emotions is an essential part of us, and our society doesn't promote self-knowledge. Like usually we live in a society or in an environment that don't really care how our emotions are. And in the internet, we have many movements that promote some sort of modern stoicism, that it means like, doesn't matter how you're feeling, just ignore it, continue doing, it doesn't matter if you feel sad, just ignore it, continue doing it. Oh, you have depression, doesn't matter, just go to the gym and, be happy, some people would say too. But we have this kind of culture running in our modern society. So we do have a part of our culture that is focused on ignoring the feelings, suffocating it, and doing whatever you want to do. But suffocating the emotions, suffocating negative emotions is not the answer. And it's not the answer because, emotions are part of you. You can suffocate, and as a Catholic, per se, this is totally against the church tradition. You should suffocate your emotions. That's totally the opposite of what St. Thomas Aquinas tells you to do, from what I know from St. Thomas Aquinas, you get what I mean? Ignoring your emotions is kind of like you have an arm pain and you ignore that you have an arm. You get what I mean? It's kind of like you hit your arm on the wall and you ignore that you hit it. No, I need to ignore that I have an arm. Please, I don't have an arm. Okay, now I don't have the arm. I will continue, doing whatever I need to do. You know what I mean? Of course, in life, there are situations that we cannot, go through our emotions immediately. And I would talk about how to go through them. But, of course, there are times that we cannot go immediately. Like, if you're in the middle of a meeting and something is happening and something triggers you, you might not have the time to, see what was happening, and you need to figure out the problem. You get what I mean? So you figure it out, but after you need to look what was happening, and etc. So this modern stoicism is not the answer, and it's really, really harmful. Why it is harmful? Because knowing your weaknesses is what make you humble. You get what I mean? If you don't know your weakness, you can't be humble. You can't work on yourself. You're not really working on yourself. What you're creating is super ego, per se. You get what I mean? You're creating some sort of pride because you are cutting your capacity to see your weaknesses. You get what I mean? In the end of the day, the modern Stoic, they don't really believe that they need salvation. You get what I mean? So, yeah, it's already outside of the church tradition. And second of all, it is totally harmful to you. Like I said about the arm, like if you're hurt, you need to be cured. You need to work through the emotions. If you feel depressed, you need to work through it. If you feel anxiety, you need to work through it. If you feel sad, you need to work through it. You get what I mean? You need to work through your emotions because they're a part of you. So in one hand, in our culture, we have this side. In the other hand, we have another side that is, excessive empathy. An empathy without truth. What I mean by empathy without truth. So sometimes these people that have, it's a huge spectrum, okay? It's a huge spectrum. In this spectrum, you have many people and etc. You have even good therapists, okay? And yeah, they, in this sense, because they have empathy, they are better than the other side. But they still have their problems. What is this, too much empathy side means? You know what is these guys, what is these guys are doing? So basically, they judge every single thing according to their emotions. Oh, so beautiful. No, this happened because you had a trauma, and etc. This is so bad. Yeah, and it's true. Trauma happens. It's true. Like Gabor Mate say that we have big T traumas and small T traumas. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I will make a video just about that. It's really true. The only problem is that if you take life just with the lens of your heart without truth, you're really close to live a hedonistic life. And when I say hedonistic, I'm not saying that you just are eating whatever you want. I'm not saying about, how to say, just making sex or something like that, or going to parties and doing whatever you want on it, and etc. I'm being really specific here. It's an affection type of hedonism. It's not just that. It sometimes is something, is that plus other thing or another thing. Is that kind of life that you just want to manage every single thing just to be comfortable. And if you're an atheist, for you it doesn't really matter. You can really just manage life to be comfortable. I'm not telling anyone to be a masochist and creating pain. No, I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about that specific kind of life that makes you weak in some sense. You just start to talk with people that you feel connected with. You start to pick up your friends with the ones that, how to say, talk what you want to hear, and etc. They speak so sweetly, and etc. You start to live life on what is easier to live. You get what I mean? And at least if you're a Catholic, our main point is to become saint. You get what I mean? We cannot stay on this level. You get what I mean? We can't. We just can't stay on this level. And why I'm saying that this side is better than the other side, because looking externally, this side is doing way more things than this side. You get what I mean? But this side is way, how I can say, somehow it is harder. It has a problem of pride. You get what I mean? And it's hard to deal with this person because his life is doing well, he's getting success and etc. And telling that this person that you need to work on something is hard. On the other hand, this specific person, if anything happens on their lives, because they need to realize that you cannot, how to say, not every single time you will manage your life and everything will go the way that you want. Like people change and etc. And this hurts you. You need to work on your heart and also not just let yourself be conduced by your heart. So here comes the principle that we use, right? So the problem of these people is that they just use the heart. They just use their affection, and it's really beautiful because they have empathy, but they kind of live in a utopian world that just empathy, just being nice with people is enough, And actually the problem is that we are in this fallen world. And evil do exist, good people do exist too, people that care do exist too, but evil exists, and if you're just kind of nice and because you did some, you work on yourself, you did some therapy and you have some, I'd say positive energy and etc. In this sense, you're like, oh no, yeah, you need to treat people this way, nah. Yeah, beautiful, nice, yeah, but my boy, go to the next level. What is the next level? We humans are different than the animals because we have intelligence and we need to use them. You got what I mean? We need to use it. We need to use it. And you can say, no, that's emotional intelligence. Yeah, I will get there. I will get there. I will get there. Here comes the first principle, like I was saying. The problem with these people is that they get, I'll say, in a life like this and just go down, they climb it up and like this. Because they want to live comfortable. You know what I mean? They live life in pleasure mode, in some sense. Balanced pleasure, but pleasure mode. And I'm not thinking against pleasure. Just making your life based on that, They don't really go through life meaning and etc. Most of the time. Okay? Most of the time. And this is a problem because, the world has evil people and you don't know how to deal with them. Boom, they mess up your life. Okay? Speaking simply, Could make a whole video just about that. But the thing is, because we have reason, we need to apply our reason in order to coordinate our heart. And when I say coordinate our heart, it's not putting our heart in a pot. You know, like putting in a pot and then like, oh, now I will let it go. Now I will not let it go. No. The reason shapes the heart. You get what I mean? Gives it a shape. Why it gives it a shape? Because the reason tells you what is the final goal that you want to achieve. So in the case of these people, you know, they just have reason and they suffocate it. You got what I mean? In the case of these people, they just have heart and their final goal is to stay in a state of comfort, you know? And they use the tools of therapy to feel that. You got what I mean? Nothing wrong on getting pleasure, again, but making your life based on that is the problem. And here comes the thing though. We should be pointing our lives to the final goal. And because we are in a Catholic context, because this is a Catholic channel, sorry if you are an atheist and you pop up in my video, but I think that the advices will be useful anyway, because I'm giving you the principles. You need to point your life to the highest good possible. And that in Catholicism is God, is becoming a saint, and etc. You know, it's charity. You know? And this will shape the heart, will give the heart a shape. In this sense, you will start to see which inclinations are valid, and I can let them go, and which inclinations are not valid. You got what I mean? So, an example of valid inclinations that you can even let give up the reason in that specific case, you know, like married couples when they're making sex, you know, there's something about sex, the experience of sex, that it is you don't use your reason much. It's kind of like you connect, you enter in a flow with the other person. It's part of the experience, you get what I mean? Of course you can apply your reason, we'll do this, we'll do that, but the thing is, there's in sex, it's kind of like you enter in the flow. And in this sense, the right thing to do with the reason would be seeing whether you are in doing it in the right conditions, that is open to life, and inside marriage. You got what I mean? If you're doing that, open to life, responsible, of course, responsible, and in a marriage, you could just enjoy that. You get what I mean? The same thing if you're celebrating Easter. It's valid if you are in a feast to eat a little bit more than usual. You got what I mean? And enjoy the food. You got what I mean? So we see that our mind plays an important role to regulate our heart. And I'm not telling you to be neurotic, okay? Because many psychologists, including Freud, including our favorite philosopher Nietzsche, including Nietzsche, they criticize the Catholics because of that. But that's because they never read Aristotle's. Freud read Aristotle's, but they never really understood it, in my opinion. You got what I mean? Or St. Thomas Aquinas. Because what they are telling you is not every single time you not to put your heart in a pot, you got what I mean? And at the same time, they're not telling you to just follow your heart, whatever you feel. You know? What they are telling you is that there are inclinations that are valid, and there are inclinations that are not valid. Okay? So this is the principle. The mind needs to judge which inclinations are valid and which inclinations are not valid. Okay? The inclinations that are valid, if you do it in the right way, we call them virtue. Just speaking it simpler, okay? We call them virtue. And the ones that, are bad, and we're doing it badly, and it's not on the right object, or the proportion is too much, we call them vices, you know? And look, if you know what is virtue and you know what is vice, I'm just explaining here in a simple way for this video, but in future we'll make another video, Okay? Don't worry too much about that. It's just for pedagogical purpose. Okay? So we have virtue and vices. And our mind needs to play this role, of judging what is good and what is bad. Usually the emotions that we suffocate are the negative emotions, of course, because they are scary though. Are the evil inclinations, the inclinations of lust, the inclinations of how to say cruelty or something like that. You know what I mean? Usually in the Catholic world or Christian world per se, because we have the Ten Commandments and etc. People sometimes apply the Ten Commandments in a neurotic way. We could say that, like it's normal when you're starting and etc. It's normal when you are learning something new too. And the problem is that we just put rules instead of taking principles. We just put rules, like fixed rules, like boom, no, I cannot feel this way. You got what I mean? The problem is that by doing that, you're suffocating it. And one thing, my friend, you're not promoting humility because you are not promoting self-knowledge. Okay? Humility is grounded in self-knowledge, and humility is the ground for spiritual life. So if you don't have that, it's almost impossible to become a saint, or to have a spiritual life. Not that I am a saint, okay? Just saying that. No. On the other hand, giving or bad impulses just to go with the flow. No, if I feel to do these and etc., it's fine. If I feel to do that, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Also corrupts your soul. You start to become more and more selfish, and not just selfish. You start to become more and more weak, and not just weak. There's a video of Father Chad that he explains why sin makes you dumb. That's that's really nice. I like Father Chad. Really, highly recommend his video. Like put there, Father Chad, why sin make you dumb. Yeah. Sometimes I disagree with one thing or other, but in general, it's really nice. The thing is, like, you will corrupt your soul. So what? How should I work for this? How should I work for my emotions? You need to contemplate them. That's the biggest tip. Contemplate. It's not overthink over them. It's not hyper rationalize them. It's not even rationalizing them. It's contemplating. And what I mean by contemplating, my friend, contemplating is the same thing as if you went to watch a mountain and a beautiful landscape, Whoa. But you're doing this with the bad things. So if you're feeling sad, stop doing, I will suffocate. But instead of it, let it come. Let the passion come. Let the emotion come out. Contemplate it. Look at it and admit it, accept it. I'm sad. I'm sad. And then you try to find the reason why you are sad. Why am I sad? Why am I sad? Is it because someone said something to me? Is it for no reason? Sometimes we don't know the reason. But this first step of contemplating, that is the middle, is not suffocating, is not crying like a baby and going hopeless. Instead of that, contemplating. After you contemplate, just by contemplating the emotion, you start to gain control over the situation. And just by contemplating the emotion, you start to know yourself a little bit better. Just by contemplating the emotion, you start to have the chance to find the causes of it. People that are from the empathy side, they are experts on doing that. The second step would be, after contemplating, is to apply reason on it. How can I apply reason? When I mean applying your reason, doesn't mean to suffocate it. I will not show anyone that I'm sad. No, actually it's not that. What I can do, does it has any cause? Does it came from the now? Or this has how to say roots in my past, you know, from something that happened with me. What should I do over it, and etc. You know, applying your reason would be what I would tell these people. And how we judge, how we should deal with this. It's all about the direction that you are pointing your life. You got what I mean? We have the general direction that is becoming a saint, is loving, like is the phrase in the catechism, man is made in order to glorify God, to love him and to serve him. You know, is that's one. That's the general meaning of human race. But it's also looking to your specific life meaning, where you're conducting it. I want to be a dad, so I'll just say, like, in this kind of situation, I need to know how to manage it well. You know, because because I'm in front of my kids, maybe because, you know, like the next time that I have a discussion with my wife, it's not good that I have anger. Maybe, you know, like I yell at her and etc. Maybe I should, how to say, go to the toilet, you know, or tell her, let's go to our room to talk, and etc. You know, applying your reason to it, or I should calm down a little bit, and etc. You know, depending on how angry you are. If the impulse is too big, of course you come down. If it's not too big, and etc. Maybe I'm exaggerating, and you start to train the inner honesty with yourself. You know. So for this side, if you're in this side, contemplation is the answer, because you know already where you're conducting your life. If you're in this side, the problem is you're really conscious of your emotions and etc. You know, but the problem is you don't have the direction in order to judge whether they are, how to say, whether they are doing well or not. You know, like whether this is a valid inclination or not a valid inclination. And of course, in the end of the video, of course, there are cases that you will see that you have too much anger. There are cases that you will see yourself depressed. You can use this technique even if you're depressed or in having anxiety. It will not solve your anxiety or depression, but it will help. You got what I mean? It will definitely help, because you will become more conscious of what makes you feel depressed and what makes you have anxiety and etc. But like I said, there are cases and cases. You know, there are cases and cases. There are some cases that, you know, you did that, you contemplated, and you can overcome that. You know, it's real though. It's real. I was one of these cases, okay? And it's these cases that you need therapy. And when I say need therapy, they might close the video and say, no, I don't want it. But the thing is, therapy nowadays is not just for people that are depressed. It's not just for people that have anxiety. It's not just for this kind of people. It's in order for you to remove the barriers of what is blocking you in life, and not just that, putting you in truth, putting you in what God created you to do, you know, and etc. And if you're needing that, please DM me in my Instagram, or put in the comments. You understand? If you're needing that, okay? I hope that you guys like this video, subscribe in the channel, leave your thumbs up, go and check my Instagram. You know, we have especially the stories, quite interesting. Go and check my Instagram, and guys, leave insanity, leave the Catholic sanity.